Okay.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. For those who don't know me, I'm Sharon Callum. I work at the Sullivan County Commissioner's Office in Newport, New Hampshire. And Sullivan County was the grant applicant for the grant that we got into the county, which is $4 million this time around. We had a 1.7 million the first time and successfully closed that out, and now are working on our second grant. So welcome to the area. Um, Derek Furlan is the county manager. I work for him, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to be on the Zoom this morning. But we're looking forward to working with contractors on this program and continue to do, work to rehab buildings, the housing, protect the younger children, and make healthier communities and working together. I'm gonna send it over to Kate because I'm usually behind the scenes working on financials, and I do the invoices, and push those along to get reimbursement from the federal government. So
Oh, ouch.
I'll leave it up to Kate as program manager to go from here.
Thanks, Sharon. Sharon's a really important person to you if you're a contractor because she pays the bills. And I have to say, this program pays very quickly. Typically, if you get your invoices in on a Tuesday, your check is on its way to you by Friday. So that's pretty amazing. I've worked with a lot of programs, and that's record speed. We don't see that very often. So it's a big help for contractors' cash flow, which I know is an important thing that we worry about. When you get started in this business, you likely have spent a little bit of money on equipment, you spent some money on training, and you need to get out there and start getting that money back. So this is one of the things that we're very proud of, and that's because Sharon runs that department. So
Thank you,
hi,
Kate.
Nick, how are you? Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you. Hi, Nick. Hi, Mari. Just want to recognize the folks who've joined us. Hi, Tori. Good to see you. And we are recording today's presentation. So if any of your colleagues missed it, they are more than welcome to jump in and catch the recording, which will be on the Sullivan County website. So Mary, I'm going to not really be able to watch the waiting room now. So if you can take over the admission, if there's more folks that join us, thank you.
Yep.
Great. I'm going to start our slide presentation. There we go. So hopefully you should be seeing a slide with a big old yellow house in it. Is that good? Everybody seeing that slide?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
So this is the Sullivan County, New Hampshire Lead Hazard Control and Healthy Homes Program. This is the contractor information session. We're going to be talking about the program from the contractor perspective this morning. We have another information session this afternoon at 4 o'clock for property owners. So if you are also a property owner, or if you know a property owner who might like to know about the program, they can certainly join us at 4 o'clock this afternoon. And the way that they can sign up for that, Mary, maybe you could put in the chat. Thanks, Tori, for that message. Put in the chat the link for people to get into that session this afternoon if they would like to do that. So the thing that we know about these programs is that they really help us to make a difference in the community. And I have some of the information about how the program made a difference in the last community, in the last grant, which I'd like to share with you. So who is here in the call today? Well, we have contractors, obviously. We do not have the project director, County Manager Derek Furland, but Derek is very involved in the program. I'm going to give you his contact information later. So if you have questions or you would like to have a conversation with him about the program, please do that. We will have all of our email. I'll have all of our email and phone and so forth on the screen in a few minutes. You've already met the fiscal officer, the procurement officer. That would be Sharon Collum. And I am pleased to once again serve as the program manager for this program for the next 4 years. So again, my contact information will be up in a few minutes as well. So just in case you don't know me, just a little bit of background about me and why am I here? Why am I running this program? I actually have been a program manager for nearly 20 years. I've worked with different programs around the state. But before that was a college business professor and a consultant on the side. And I bring that up to let you know that I know a little bit about how business works. So I really think that that's helpful. I'm an entrepreneur myself and have to worry about cash flow and paying the employees and, getting my taxes done and all that stuff that you do as a contractor. If you own your business, you have to navigate through these things. And so I just want you to know that I'm also in that world and understand the struggles of that and really try to take that into consideration as we build these programs. I'm also a training provider. As you may know, I teach lead abatement and lead safe renovation training. I've written some books. I have a TED Talk. I speak at conferences all the time. So I'm very, I get to know a lot of people around the country that are doing this work. I'm also president of an organization called LEHA, which I would love for you to take a look at. The website is on the slide here. It's very easy, leha.us. And LEHA is Lead and Environmental Hazard Association. It's an association of lead professionals. So we have a number of contractors, training providers, program people who manage HUD programs, also people who work for labs, people who are risk assessors. It's a collection of professionals. And so it's a great organization. The website has a lot of good information. I encourage you to, I want to say it costs, I don't know, $150 or something like that for a year. And you get 4 people to join and for that price, you get 4 members. And so there's a lot of great information there about lead and what's going on. And LEHA fights for you. I mean, really, you may have heard, if you get our newsletter, you may have heard EPA really pushing to get the floor dust clearance level down to 0. I mean, that's not practical. You can't clean to 0 micrograms per square foot, and labs can't read a dust wipe to 0. It was just not practical. So LEHA fought that, right? And so we make a difference. Now the numbers are they're still discussing, but it's going to be somewhere around 10 or maybe 5, but it's not going to be 0, largely because of LEHA's work. So that's an organization that's out there fighting for all of us lead professionals. I've done a lot of work with the other grant programs, Nashua, Manchester, New Hampshire Housing, and Vermont has 3 programs as well. I recently moved to Vermont, so I'm crossing the river myself back and forth frequently. And I know that we have a number of contractors who are interested in doing that too. One of them is on this call, actually. So Legend is that person. So I'm a grant writer. I wrote this grant, as a matter of fact. So I'm happy to talk with you about all the ins and outs and details of that. And that's website on the bottom there, leadpaintclearandsimple.com. It's just one of the sites that has all my stuff on it. It's all the stuff about the books and the TED Talk and all that stuff. So if you want to know more, please feel free to jump in there. And I say this not to brag, but just to let you know that I've been doing this a long time, and I do, for the most part, know what I'm talking about. I'm always happy to hear other suggestions, though, and opinions, because I don't work in the field every day the way that you do. So it's important that we stay connected and keep talking. All right, so what's the problem? The biggest problem is, even now, after improving over the years, we're still only testing 35% of our kids in Sullivan County. In fact, statewide, that's about where we are, about 1/3 of our kids. So what about the other 2/3? We don't know. We don't know how many of them are poisoned. We don't know what their levels are. So that's a big problem that we really all have to work to solve. Until we test more kids, we don't really know the scope of the problem. But we do know that about 60 children a year are poisoned that we know of. But remember, we're only testing 1/3 of the kids. So what does that mean? Are 180 kids poisoned a year? We don't know. So this is something that the state is working on, and we are working to help, get the word out there that that these children need to be tested, that there is no other way to tell if they're lead poisoned except for the blood test. And we really need to encourage that. There is a law, Senate Bill 247, that says we should be testing all children at age 1 and age 2. And because of that, we're doing better, but we're still not getting there. We're still not getting enough children tested. We also know there are currently 20 properties under order for abatement in Sullivan County. If you're not familiar with that program, that means that there are 20 homes, apartments, or single-family homes where a child has already been poisoned. We already have identified that the child is poisoned and is living in that home. So those are the homes we obviously want to target. We want to get in there and clean up the lead before this situation gets worse for those kids that are living there. But you don't have to be under order to apply to our program. We really encourage everybody to apply if their house was built before 1978. So landlords, as well as private homeowners, you don't have to wait until a kid is sick in one of your units to apply. You can apply anytime. And we do not give you more money because a kid's under order. I know some programs do that. Some programs will give, because you're under order, they give you more money. We want to reward people for being proactive. We want to reward you for coming to the table before a child gets sick. So we will give the maximum amount of money that we can give to a project, regardless of whether it's under order or not under order. For contractors, that makes a difference, right? If they're under order, you also are under the sort of watchful eye of the state. Our contractors are busy. We have a staff that's coming out and checking up on you as well. So it's not like you're just free to do whatever you want because it's not under order. We are obviously there and making sure that you follow all the state rules as well. But you don't have the added sort of level of stress that, that the state might come and fine you. All right. Oh, by the way, I have an announcement that might be of interest to some of you. As of yesterday, Sullivan County has chosen a new risk assessor who will be our LIRA, our risk assessor lead inspector, through the next 4 years. And that is actually 2 people, Doug and Ariana Jones. So just wanted to let you know that if you've been working with Mickey, he is stepping down from the program, although he's still a lead inspector, a risk assessor. But our new person just recently negotiated yesterday will be Doug and Ariana. So we're very excited to work with them. So they will be coming around. Doug will also, a longtime contractor, will also be a construction manager, will be coming around to check up on the projects and make sure that everything's going well for you. So you're not left out there by yourself. We're constantly checking in. We also know that about half our housing stock was built before 1978. So the likelihood of finding lead is great. We know that a third of our families that we work with are low-income families, which makes it difficult for them to have the funds necessary to do this work. So we're really happy that we have this money to help them. Now that we looked at all those numbers, though, how can we guess how many mandated abatements there will be in the next year or in the next 4 years? Right? We really don't have any idea. So it's our hope as a grant program to stay ahead of that. But I also want to reiterate that we do not need you to be under order to work with this program. In fact, we really encourage you to come to us if you're not under order. And I'll talk more about this in the afternoon session when we're talking to landlords. What that means for you as contractors is you have a standard that you meet, and it's the program standard, and that will also keep you safe with the state in terms of making sure that you follow the rules, and we will help you with that. All right. So what's our plan? With this next grant, we intend to inspect at least 120 units. We never know for sure. Last time we thought we would inspect 70 and we inspected 85. we don't know for sure what's going to happen in the program as people apply, and as we try to find more money, we will find more match money. For example, we're talking about writing more grants to augment this grant to give us more money to spend, but we expect to inspect at least 120. We expect to abate at least 100 units, and also to do what we call healthy homes work in 100 units. I'll go over in a minute what that means. And we're going to spend about $4 million doing it. Significantly more, probably. In the last program, we matched our funding. So the funding that we had set aside, it was a $1.7 million grant. We actually spent around 800,000 on abatement. We also have to do a lot of other things, healthy homes and inspections and so forth. But we matched that almost exactly. We spent, I forget what it was, the numbers were exactly, but between 700,000 and 800,000 of the grant money on abatement, and matched it with another 700,000 or 800,000 in other funds that we brought in. So we will continue to do that. We'll continue to search for additional funding to bring in. We're also going to train 30 new lead abatement contractors and workers, supervisors and workers. And we will provide that training at no charge. So we will cover the cost of the training with grant funds. We expect to make properties safe for at least 100 families. We expect to finish early and to reapply for the grant program. We also wanted to go over what is healthy homes. And I'm going to be quiet for just a minute here while you take a look at this list of things that all could be considered healthy homes. And I'm going to actually grab my notes, which are right over here. So this is work that you would call rehab, I would think, right? Most of you, if we're dealing with putting up smoke detectors, putting in smoke detectors, dealing with radon, these are things that we would call rehab. And so often when people talk about lead, well, what is lead really? What is healthy homes really? It's the same work you're already doing. It really is. It's you're dealing with things that are falling apart, things that are falling down, things that need additional support, and we're paying for that work. What makes a home healthy? The HUD programs have a list of things, keep it clean, keep it dry, keep it pest free, watch for fall trip hazards, those kinds of things. So all of the things that we might look at that are not lead items. So we have, for this grant, we have about $28,000 per unit that we can spend for lead. And then we have another $5,000 per unit that we can spend for non-lead items that are related, healthy homes items, like the kinds of things you see on the screen here. And then in addition to that, we can spend our match money either way, right? So there is an $11,000 per unit zero interest deferred loan that property owners can get. So we really have a lot of money to spend this time around to take care of these things. Okay, next up is what is lead? And these are some of the examples of what we mean when we say lead hazard control work. And we've got some contractors on the call that have been doing this work for a long time, and I'll throw it to you afterwards. And if you want to add anything, this is the kind of work that we do. We replace windows, we do vinyl siding, we replace trim, baseboards, door casings, that sort of thing. And we can sheetrock over leaded walls. We can put drop ceilings over leaded ceilings. So sometimes we're not actually removing the lead, much like you would do with asbestos. Sometimes you say, you know what, it's safer to cover it and leave it there than it is to make a big mess moving it out, right? So we have to have a permanent solution. The state requires that our abatement solutions last 20 years. So that's what's considered permanent in the state of New Hampshire. So that's our list, kind of. This is our list of the things that you might normally see in a lead hazard control job. So here's a couple of before and after pictures. If you're familiar with Sullivan County, you may know these projects. But this is very typical. This is obviously the before picture, and then the after picture of the same property from more or less the same angle. So I've only got exterior pictures here today. We do a lot of the work we do is on the interior, but this is an example. And then sometimes we get involved in historic properties, and we have to get a little bit more creative in that case. So here's a historic property that some of you, if you're familiar with the area, you might know. This was over on Myrtle Street. And then there was this particular property owner really wanted to restore the property to its original historic, significance, and did above and beyond. What the grant program could do was to get rid of the lead, and a lot of this work was paid for by the grant program. But then he took the opportunity to go ahead and add some additional trim and so forth. So I want to just make it clear that this is not a remodeling project. This is not about making it prettier. It has to be about making it safer. But along the way, we don't just, slap up unpainted one by and call it done. I mean, that would be safe. There's no lead there, but that's not the goal of the program. We want these properties to be attractive and livable when we're done as well. So how do you get involved? Well, everything that you need, if you're a contractor, all the information you need is on the Sullivan County website. So www.sullivancountynh.gov. And I can, if we have time, when we're done here, I want to leave time for questions, but if we have time, I will visit that website with you when the PowerPoint is done and share the screen and show you what's available at the website. But I'll just explain that once you go there, there's a tab on the top that says programs or county programs maybe, and it has a list of several programs that the county has. The lead program is clearly listed there. So you click on that page and that takes you to our web page at the county, which has the application to be licensed as a contractor with the county. There is no cost involved or anything like that. You have to show us that you are a New Hampshire state licensed contractor. You have to have some basic insurance, nothing too complicated. And that's it really. And then we'll talk, there's a list where you list some job references and you list some, maybe some accounts that you have at hardware stores or whatever. And we'll talk, but I never want someone to be afraid to apply. We have definitely taken a shot on some new contractors, brand new out of the gate. And that's a thing that most of the lead abatement programs will not be able to do, but we can in Sullivan, and we will. So we can help you get trained and certified. We can help you get your first job or two going. We have, a lot of patience, and we're really happy to talk you through how this works, because we see our job as growing a contractor base in the area. And once you have worked with us and done a couple of projects with us, you then can apply to the other grant programs in the state who typically don't hire you unless you've got some abatement experience. So we're happy to be the training ground for people who might then go work with other grant programs as well. So because we are a training provider, you don't have to take your certification classes with us. You certainly don't. In fact, if you take your classes anywhere with any licensed training provider in the state of New Hampshire, as long as you agree to bid on some jobs in Sullivan, Sullivan County will reimburse you for your training. So you take your training, you go pay for your training from any training provider. It doesn't have to be us. I list our website here, but you can take it anywhere. And then you submit back to us and reach out to me if you need help with this. You submit back to us a copy of your certificate showing that you got your training done, and also a copy of your receipt, so we know how much you paid. And then there's a one-page form to fill out. It's very straightforward, and then we will reimburse you for your training if you live or work or are willing to work in Sullivan County. Okay, that's our parameter. So you need for training purposes, you need two certifications. You need both RRP, which is renovate, repair, and paint, and you need abatement, lead abatement. So the RRP is a one-day class. The lead abatement is a 3-day class for workers, a 4-day class for supervisors. We have quite a bit of training money. So at least for the foreseeable future, we are happy to help you build a crew. Now I know you're still gonna have to pay your people for the time they sat in class. I can't help you with that, but we can at least cover the cost of the training. And then you will have to license with the state, and there is a cost involved in that, but it's minimal. It's a few $100s. And I just told you the amount of money that you can be awarded for contracts up to $28,000 a unit. So the few $100s that you'll spend in classes is a great investment in building your company, right? So here's what I just went over with the classes. The RRP is a 1-day lead certification training. You get a 5-year certificate from that. It's national. It'll cost you about $300 to register with EPA for your company. It'll cost you $275 for the individual training. And then every 5 years you have to recertify. That's another $150. So we will cover the $275 for your people to take this class. Or if you need a refresher, the $150. We will not be able to cover your fee to the EPA. That's something you have to pay. But again, it's only $300 every 5 years. So pretty minimal cost. Lead abatement is a little bit more involved and consequently a little more expensive. That's a 3-day for workers, again, 4-day for supervisors. It's in the neighborhood of $675. That's for supervisors. It's a little less for workers. I want to say $550. Something in that range. It's state specific, and we need you to be New Hampshire certified. So if you have a Mass or Vermont or Maine license, that's great, but we need you to be New Hampshire certified. Check in with me or with the DHHS. We can find out for you if there is reciprocity. Sometimes if you're licensed in one state, you don't have to take the class. You can just go take the test. And if you pass the New Hampshire rules test, then you can be certified in New Hampshire. So sometimes you can save that week in the class. There's a test, there's a state test and a federal test that you have to take at the end of the lead abatement supervisor class, the 4-day class. And we spend a lot of time getting you ready for that. You know, we sort of cram for that test as part of class. And the license cost is about $300 for you in terms of what you pay the state. And then between $25 and $250 per individual. It depends on what exactly, how many people you're licensing and so forth. We go over all that in the class. But I just want to give you an idea what the costs are. So, you know, you might spend $1,000 getting your company up and running. But then again, remember the amount of money that that you can make when you start winning these bids is well worth the investment. So, whoops, I gotta go back to something. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that, but that's okay. Hang on. I want to give you our contact information. So here's that. So my email and phone, and that's my cell phone. Feel free to text or call. And Derek and Sharon. Also, I want to say there is a contractor pre-qualification form, as I mentioned, that lists lets you list references and so forth. That's on the website. If you go to Sullivan County NH, make sure Sullivan County NH .gov, and you can get that form. Now, some of the forms on the website are still the old forms, so they might be dated for 2020. Go ahead and use them. It's okay. There are minimal edits coming up for the 2024 forms, which are getting put slowly on the website as we get them ready. But really minimal updates. So we will accept the old forms and work with you to get qualified. So please tell me what question.
Kate, just an ad. In the chat on the Zoom, I did put the actual link to the program page, so you don't have to go through the whole website, but the program page is in there.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
I do.
Legend.
So as you know, I'm in Vermont, and I was wondering if you had any idea offhand what the how do I word this? Will I be required to go through the entire, like, ahead of time? Will I be required to do the entire RRP training and abatement training separate for New Hampshire? And if not, how easy is the process? I know you mentioned it briefly. I'm wondering
Sure.
what you knew.
So the RRP is a federal certification. So when you take the RRP class, whether it's RRP in New Hampshire or RRPM in Vermont, it is recognized in the other state in the New Hampshire direction. In other words, RRPM in Vermont will be recognized nationally. But the RRP in New Hampshire or wherever you took it is recognized in Vermont, but it's not complete. You also have to do the IRC, which is the 2-hour Vermont specific training.
Yeah.
Once you've done both of those, you're good in both states.
Oh, okay. Wait, I've already done that
Great.
for Vermont.
Yep, then you're covered.
I'm
You
covered.
just provide that for us in New Hampshire as well, the certificate that you got, and that'll be
Okay.
fine. Then the other thing is the abatement, and the abatement is specific to the state. In other words, if you took the abatement, the 4-day supervisor class, and you, at the end of the class, you took the New Hampshire state test and the EPA federal test, you're licensed in New Hampshire. In order to be licensed in Vermont, they don't have a state test. All you have to do is show that you passed the federal test. So basically, licensing in New Hampshire will cover you in Vermont for the abatement license. Not really true in the reverse. If you
Okay.
took the Vermont abatement class, you could take the federal test and get that part of the certification, but you won't have the New Hampshire part because you didn't
So,
take the New Hampshire test.
so
So
do you feel my best way forward would be to go for the abatement training in New Hampshire if I'm planning on working in the tri-state area?
yeah, I do because
Okay.
because the reciprocity piece from New Hampshire to Vermont only requires the federal test, the EPA
Okay.
test, and you'll have that. You have to have it to get certified in New Hampshire anyway. So
Okay.
if you want to work in both states, I would go for the New Hampshire certification, and along the way, you'll get the federal piece that you need for Vermont. Then when you apply in Vermont, they will ask you for some other things. Like they'll ask you for an occupant protection plan, a worker protection plan. If that's Greek to you because you haven't taken the class yet, we will cover those things in the class.
Okay. I think that's
Anybody
it.
else? Any questions?
Oh, another one.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you may have mentioned this too. Yeah, I don't really wake up mentally until about noon. As you can see, I'm kind of, what was the question? See, I already forgot the question.
Yeah.
If something to do with the test. See, I already forgot it.
If you fail the test, what happens?
No,
Oh, good.
I don't.
Well, I
No.
can answer that anyway, just in case. You can take
Okay.
it. You can take it up to 3 times in 6 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, and I think you mentioned this already. Um, Paying for the abatement course. And I think I saw something in an email that there may be some, I think we pay for it and then we keep the receipts and
That's
then we get reimbursed down the road.
exactly
Okay.
right. Yeah,
Okay.
and it won't take very long. You'll need to fill out the form. There's a 1-page form and a W-9, and then provide a copy of your certificate and your receipt. And then it will go to Sharon. I'll approve it, and then it'll go to Sharon, and she will write you a reimbursement check. What do you think, Sharon? A couple of weeks?
As once I get it, Kate's approved it. I just need to have the county manager approve invoices. That doesn't take that long. We process checks once a week.
Wow.
So they are not sitting out there for, a couple weeks or a month.
I'm used to
And
working with this one company in Massachusetts, CHD, Center for Human Development, and I would have to wait up to 2 months a lot of
no,
times to get paid,
oh,
which
I'm
wasn't the end of the
sorry.
world. But if it was a $10,000 check or a five
Yeah,
thousand dollar check, then I'm not a big company, so
yeah,
I can't absorb large
yeah. We
waiting
want to get the
periods.
money out there to help you guys as fast as possible. And, my job is just to push those through. And then I go after the HUD and the grant that we are awarded to get our reimbursement after the fact. So, yeah.
I'm not used to working with a I I guess the best way to put it is I've been doing this for a while, but I feel like I've been flying by the seat of my pants, and I want to start treating it more. I want to grow whatever I'm doing and treat it more as a legitimate company with legitimate workers and everything, and just be above board. And I know with something like this, you have to anyways. I mean, I pay taxes and stuff, um, but I guarantee I don't keep track of every little cent, mileage and supply costs. I'm one of those guys I'll spend $300 on supplies and $318.26. I round it up to 320, and I know a lot of guys are to the penny, to the nickel, and when you do this type of stuff, you have to. Everything's accounted for, and so I just
Well,
that's
thanks.
just the way to move forward, I guess is what I'm saying. So
Yeah, thanks,
uh,
Legend. We really take a lot of pride in helping contractors to making it easier for you. So we will do our best. And Sharon is great. We were just talking about this yesterday. Actually, I was over at the county offices, and they really make a difference to the contractors by paying so quickly. I mean, honestly, throughout the program, if you get your invoice in by Tuesday, it's typically paid on Friday of that same week. And I know that that's unusual, so we're very proud of that.
what another question about possible reimbursement and grant costs and such. Um, Currently, I don't own something like a HEPA vacuum. Are there? I mean, I could go buy a second rated one on the market if I want, off the market if I wanted to. If I really wanted to get some high end stuff to do the work and multiple of them, is there any cash put aside to help cover supply costs for contractors, or does
No,
that get put into I bill for labor and I say, well, for supplies, I bought this for the job. I mean, how would that, does that even come up?
yeah, so good question. We don't really have like a fund for HEPAVAX, but I will say that one of the things we've learned to do in the classes is take a few minutes to talk to you about this. In the abatement class, particularly, we have you for 4 days, so we have some time. I'll go online and help you search. You can actually buy HEPAVAX for just a few $100s.
Okay.
400 is, sort of about the bottom of the barrel, but they're
Okay.
good. But they meet all the standards. So that's one thing is we'll help you find them. But also, you can put in advance of your job, you can put in a request for materials, and it could be up to 15% of the job. So again, that's something that we do to sort of help you with your cash flow. So, we're not asking for detailed receipts of how you spent that money. So if you felt like what I really need is in addition to the siding or the flooring or whatever, I need a HEPA vac, and you chose to include that in your 15%, that's totally your call.
Okay.
Okay. We
I'm
try to,
sure I'll have another 20 questions down the road. At the
that's
moment, my brain
fine.
isn't really functioning. But thanks, I
No,
appreciate
no
that.
problem.
I know you're really knowledgeable, a lot of experience. So,
Well, thank
uh,
you. And really feel free to, if you think of a question later, feel free to reach out
oh
to
yeah,
me if it's
I will.
got to do with the program. I want to just introduce Nick Norman too. Nick is an instructor in the LED EDU program. You want to say hello, Nick, and talk a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a principal instructor with LED EDU, and I teach a lot of the RRP classes. And when we do the lead abatement classes, usually Kate and I somewhat split that up. Kate teaches half of it, and I teach the other half. So I'm very much involved in training. I love duty training. I've been doing it for years. Kate and I have formed a partnership for, I don't know, a couple decades.
Mhm.
Did you want me to say anything about the other stuff?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I work with landlords and housing providers and advocate for housing providers at the state level and a little bit at the federal level. So part of that is for about 14 years, I have a team of people that pour through and analyze every new piece of legislation that comes through the state of New Hampshire, advocating for housing providers. I've got a legislative update I send out across New Hampshire. It goes out to a readership of about 3,500 across the state. I'm totally plugged in. I'm at ground zero of any new laws related to real estate, particularly landlord tenant. And along the way, because of that, I've served on two different year-long led commissions that rewrote the laws for the state. I served on a task force that rewrote the rules for lead for the state. So I'm plugged in. If you're a property owner and you want some guidance, feel free to give me a call.
So whether or not you took the class with us, with Let EDU, the training that you got includes all this kind of information, and you certainly can reach out to us. If I don't know the answer, I may very well refer you to Nick. He and I are the principal instructors for Let EDU, so I may very well refer you to him. You don't have to have been a student of ours. We're not like that. Right. Like I said, there are other training providers in the state too. And if you choose to take a class with one of them, you will still get reimbursed. It doesn't have to go through our company. Okay. Thanks, Nick. Anybody else? Any questions or concerns, or just want to add to the conversation? I know we have some folks here from the state. We have some experienced contractors here. Anything you want to share?
Hi, Kate. Mike Doherty. I wanted just a quick question. A number of contractors that I still stay in touch with that, because of the issue with the grant programs, they had dropped out. Would you also consider reimbursing for a refresher training? Same arrangement? Good.
Absolutely, yes. 100%.
Obviously not significantly less than the initial training, but that might help some of these folks to jump back in again.
Absolutely, yes. Please spread the word. I know we are doing that. I know City of Nashua is doing it as well. If you work in or if you work with Nashua or live in Nashua, you have to fill out their form, which is a little bit different. We are at Let EDU, we're giving out both reimbursement forms, Sullivan County and Nashua, with the student resource materials. So that's just going to be part of the handouts in class. And New Hampshire Housing, I'm 90% sure, is going to jump on board with that as well and do a similar reimbursement program, because we all have training dollars to spend. And it seemed like the fairest way to do it for everybody.
Yeah, but certainly a lot of the folks are interested in the Sullivan program because, as you said, it's a good place to get your feet wet, for training and such. So.
Yes, thank you. We think so. And I don't know if you were on the call, Mike, when we announced that our new risk assessor will be Doug and Ariana Jones.
I was aware of that. Yep, I was expecting it. That's fantastic. For anybody that doesn't know, Doug and Ariana, I've worked with both of them quite a bit over the years, and they're going to be. Mickey was fantastic, but Doug and Ariana are top shelf.
Yeah, and I mentioned that because Doug also worked for Let EDU for a number of years way back. He and I go way back too. 20 years. And he was a training provider for us. So he is by nature a trainer also. And so was Mickey. And so that's one of the things we looked for. We interviewed 5. There were 5 people who applied for the risk assessor position in Sullivan. And just last night, yesterday afternoon, we made the final decision and hired Doug and Ariana. And I told them I was going to announce it today. And Doug was like, oh, I can't be there. But anyway, please reach out to him if you know him. And one of the real draws for me to working with Doug is that I know him to be a teacher as well. We really feel strongly that our role in the state is to nurture new contractors along, and I want to continue to offer that.
I'm glad you said that. That's something I wanted to add. Over the years, I've sent a number of newer contractors Doug's way that needed to be just helped along, with some of the methods, and he's a terminal do-gooder, so he'll won't hesitate to share his knowledge, to teach. So absolutely.
Yeah, very excited about the team, and we're continuing to hire, by the way. We're looking for an outreach and education person in Sullivan. If you know of someone that might be interested in that position, send them my way. So yeah, very exciting. We're looking to do double what we did last year. And we already have a waiting list, by the way, of 31 units. It jumped up overnight, Sharon. We went from 27 to
Fantastic.
31.
And,
Yeah.
and I'm also en route to Keene to inspect another couple of properties. So
Yeah. So there's going to be just a ton of work, just a ton of work. The other two grant programs that just got funded, New Hampshire Housing and Nashua, got almost twice as much money as we did. So I mean, there's a lot of money out there, and I know that means we're going to need a lot of contractors, and you contractors are going to need more staff and more training. So we're really trying to ramp up. Other questions or comments? Hector, Norma, anything to add?
I got to say really quickly that I think Nick did an outstanding job doing the RRP course. So I just wanted to put a plug in for Nick.
Thank
I thought he
you.
did an outstanding job.
We're real proud of him.
As well did you.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
We're real glad to have Nick on board.
Yeah.
I second that. I took Nick's RRP and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks. Good to know. Sorry, Hector, were you going to say something?
We were just excited to get going and get started on working. We did have a question.
Mhm.
When do you have a schedule for the courses?
Yes, good question. So the LED EDU website, which Mary, could you put that in the chat, please? It's led-edu.info. It was on that last screen, but LED EDU website has the whole year, all of 2025 is already out there. So yeah, the schedule's there for RRP as well as for abatement. And we try to do the abatement class once a month, backed up against the New Hampshire testing. I really think if you take the class Monday through Thursday and you take your test on Friday, that same week, you stand a much better chance of remembering everything and getting past the test. And we've had pretty good luck. You know, not everybody passes, but we've had pretty good luck with our people doing it that way. We also provide a study guide for the supervisors, so they've got something to take home and sort of, practice with
That was going to be my question. Yeah, that would be great. I know in Massachusetts we had I still have mine from 5 years ago.
Mhm.
They gave us a manual.
Yeah. So does that answer the question, Hector?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kate.
Sure. Anybody else? Anything else that we didn't cover? Great. Well, I just want to say thank you again. We're recording this, so it's going to be on the Sullivan County website for folks. If you have, colleagues that didn't get a chance to sit in it and you think this would be helpful, just tell them, give us a couple days and it will be on the website. So, and if you have property owners that would like to come 4 o'clock this afternoon, we have a similar presentation, but focused more toward the property owners and housing providers. By the way,
Okay.
they don't have to be under order, single family and multifamily. Tell your contacts to apply. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Nice to meet
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Yeah, everyone have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye, Mari.